Okay, Dow Jones Industrials up off the floor, though. We're still down 468 points. We almost feel a little bit like a broken record here on this next stock. GE shares breaking down again. This is a fresh new low, $8.08. This is a low the stock has not seen since the financial crisis. Shares actually earlier fell below $8 a share for the first time since March of 2009 as the one-time business great goes into survival mode. Joining us now, Charlie Gasparino. You have new exclusive details on what is GE doing to save itself at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say they're not doing anything. They know there is an existential threat to the company. They're rapidly deleveraging. And I'm going to explain what that means. What we understand, sources are telling the Fox Business Network that they're working with Wall Street bankers on restructuring asset sales and possibly raising capital. Two of the banks we understand they're working with is J.P. Morgan and Goldman Sachs on these various scenarios to deleverage the company. The company has a lot of debt, has a big pension liability. The company CEO, Larry Culp, says it doesn't have a cash flow problem. It has cash, but they must deleverage, and this is what they're doing. They're looking to sell stuff and maybe radically transform the company. Now, here's something interesting. Sources inside the giant PE firm Blackstone say that the company, the PE firm, is having significant discussions internally about GE's assets. It is weighing numerous scenarios, including possibly buying stuff from GE. Now, we don't know what they're looking at. We don't know how much they're looking to spend, but inside Blackstone, they are eyeing some of GE's assets to buy. And what these same people are saying inside Blackstone and my banking sources in particular, they're saying that everything is still on the table at GE. What does that mean? They may spin off parts of the company into publicly traded units. They may sell a lot of stuff. They may raise capital, but they are clearly in survival mode right now. They are not. Larry Culp is not taking this lightly. He's moving very fast. I think we'll know more in the weeks ahead, maybe the next month, exactly what GE, the future GE, is going to look like. But if you look at what the bankers are telling me, the people inside Blackstone, about what they're doing, how GE's approaching it. The GE of this time next year is going to be radically different than the GE today. It's going to be a much smaller GE. And clearly, it looks like GE right now is a Wall Street investment banker's dream because they have at least Goldman and J.P. Morgan, maybe more banks looking at these various scenarios, sales. You have Blackstone clearly looking to buy some stuff. That doesn't mean they will, but they're clearly looking at it. And here's a kind of interesting thing that I picked up and got confirmed. The CEO of GE, Larry Culp, has discussed the company's issues with Blackstone's Dave Calhoun. If you know anything about Dave Calhoun, he's a former longtime GE executive before he came to Blackstone. I think he ran Nielsen, the ratings company, for a while as well. The two are longtime friends. But here's the interesting thing. Culp has spoken to very few GE execs about what's going on. He's not reached out to a lot of people. He did reach out to Calhoun. People at the company say they're friends, but he is reaching out to a guy that's one of the top people at one of the biggest private equity firms, which has a lot of interest in GE assets. We should point out that spokesman for GE and Blackstone had no comment on this. But like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on in GE regarding Wall Street and asset sales. And Blackstone is looking at it, and J.P. Morgan and Goldman Sachs are looking to do the deals. Liz, back to you.
You know, I was doing a search on GE board of directors members who had bought stock in the last year, probably thinking that it's got to get better. James Tisch, who was a board member, had purchased nearly $54 million worth of GE stock 1 year ago.
Well, that's when Flannery took over, and it looked like Nelson Peltz was going to get help. Nelson Peltz, the activist investor, was getting his hands around the problem of the company, but it just got worse. I mean, if you look at it, you look at the stock chart, there was. One of the reasons why Flannery is out, because there was more disclosures of losses that would come up. The current CEO, Larry Culp, cut the dividend to nearly zero. I think it's
he bought stock a week ago, about $1 million.
Well, here's the thing, Liz, and I get this from a lot of GE former executives. I mean, I know them all. I've been covering this company. I know Jack Welch. Jack does not want to speak about this, at least to me. I think he must be beside himself on what happened to the company since he left.
Oh, he's imploding. I'm sure he's furious.
And what's going on now, cutting the dividend to zero. But one thing that they all tell me is that if you believe what it looks like Culp is doing, which is a massive restructuring, possibly dividing GE into separate business units, and I know inside these Wall Street firms, from what I understand, they are talking about that. That doesn't mean that's where they go. They may just sell everything they can and try to work with a leaner GE for a time being. But there's some radical stuff. But if you sell this off, if you break it up, is the sum of the parts worth more than the whole? And what they're saying is yes. So it's worth more than $8, $9 a share if you break it up and sell it off. There's much more. There's a lot of good stuff here.
Don't say 8 or 9. It's 8. It's $8.02 right now.
But just so you know, the whole sum of their parts. The sum of the parts is worth more than the whole. I keep bringing that. I've been bringing that up for a year. They've been saying that when the stock was at $18, $15 a share.
Oy.
So now you got to ask yourself, we're at 8. Is this thing worth really $8? Although they have a healthcare unit, they have aviation, they have engines, they have stuff there.
Yeah,
that's really amazing.
The wires have picked up your tweet.
Right.
And we're watching
moving?
this right now. Well, the stock, it's moving down 6.5%. So we're looking at it right now, and we'll see.
You're the kiss of death, Liz.
This is the question. Will GE close below $8 a share? We will keep an eye on that and let you know at the end of the show.